What's up, everybody? Doug here, and we got a solo episode for some more reviews today. And then the next solo episode that I'm going to do is actually going to be the last episode of the handheld gaming review series. Before we get into it, there's something that I thought about before I hit record on this that I definitely didn't forget. Uh, it might even be too late by the time you listen to this, but I actually saw the news story that Palworld's developer is getting sued by Nintendo. So if you've listened to this episode and Pal World is still up and around, you might want to go ahead and buy that on Steam because there's a small possibility that it might not be there for too much longer. That being said, we're gonna go ahead and get into some reviews here. The first is the DLC for a game that I absolutely loved. It's called Dredge: The Iron Rig. The Iron Rig? Hold on. I don't want this to be wrong. Dredge. I'm out of red lights. Don't worry about it. Okay, Dredge the Iron Rig. So this is another continuation, more add-on content to the great video game Dredge. And if you don't know Dredge, it is a mix of like it's a fishing game with horror elements. That's like the best way that I can explain it. So just like everything in Dredge, like you don't really get like a thing saying, "Hey, this is what you have to do," right? You just kind of load into the game map, and if you look the right way, you can see this big oil rig out in the distance. So you go out to it, and you're slowly unlocking like more facilities on this rig, right? And it opens up these new uh, oil spots that you can go into to fish for these new creatures that come out up from the bottom of the ocean. And it all starts out really good, but the problem comes in like you start to notice it pretty quickly if you're paying attention. And the problem is that most of this expansion is grinding. Like you have to go out grind for materials to get a certain kind of lure to then go out and get a certain type of fish so that you can upgrade a certain piece on this oil rig just so you can get further in the storyline. And sure, you can kind of make an argument for uh you can kind of make the argument that that's kind of what the game is anyway, but I don't know, maybe it's because we had I mean there's so much good in this that feels like the game is taking a step forward that the grinding aspect here doesn't feel as fun as it did in the original Dredge. And then even in the Pale Reach, I felt like there was not as much grinding as there is here. Uh, the upsides to this are that this is still Dredge. You still have the fantastic horror elements here. You have the amazing soundtrack. You've got the tight gameplay. Everything that you want is here in Dredge: The Iron Ring. Uh, the last thing that we really need to talk about, well, I'll go ahead and say this is actually the first game that I started on my Steam Deck OLED, and it plays wonderfully on the OLED screen. Uh, Everything works exactly as it should on the Steam Deck. This is a great game to play on your Steam Deck. Now, again, the issues are the grinding. It just doesn't feel great here. And also, something that you take into account, you can probably knock this DLC out in 2.5 to 3 hours, maybe a little less or more, depending on your play style. So you just got to keep that in mind when you go into this game. But overall, Dredge the Pale Reach, Dredge Iron Rig. It's a good experience, just held back by some grinding that I feel like they could have streamlined a little bit. Um, Next on the not the chop, I guess you can call it the chopping block. Uh, Let me get a drink here real quick. Well, I'm having a completely massive brain fart here, so I'm going to talk for a little bit until I completely remember what else I'm reviewing today. Uh, I got it. Campfire, cozy campfire. Okay, so this game is it's a little bit of a different ball of wax here. So imagine Animal Crossing if you had an AI that was behind the villagers. And that's what you get with this game. It plays just like an Animal Crossing game would, where you're on this island and you're going around, you're chopping, you're knocking fruit off of trees, you're going around, you're collecting resources to give to the villagers. But the big twist here is that the villagers are like they are like they are AI, and they can like you can either type in a response to them or you can do the voice can like there's like a little microphone where you could speak and it'll do voice recognition and send it off to the computers and you actually get a response depending on what you say. Now it's not going to be like like one of the questions were uh what kind of music do you like? And I said country, and they said, well, what kind of, what are you listening to right now? And I said, oh, I've been listening to a lot of the new Zach Top album, and obviously it didn't go, oh, Cowboys Like Me is a great song. Like it doesn't say like that, but like it will respond because I mean it reads what you're saying and it goes into an AI and it comes out with a response. So it's a really cool system. The graphics are great. It runs great on the Steam Deck OLED. Again, another thing that I played on here. But what I will tell you is that it's a little bit of a mixed ball because there is no controller support yet. I was able to kind of mess around and get a controller setup that worked. I used the left thumbstick to move my character around, and I mapped a couple buttons, but I ended up using the cursor just to select things anyway. Um, This is it's also an online game, so you have to make an account and all that to get into it. I feel like this game is something that could be very special if the developers keep on that. Uh, as of yet, this is not a full review. This is a preview of what I have played so far. This game is in early access. Uh, I definitely encourage anybody that wants to check this game out, especially if you are a fan of Animal Crossing and maybe you are just in the market for something a little bit different. Uh, Toy Tactics. That's the third one I had today. Um, so I kind of went into Toy Tactics with the wrong mindset. I kind of went into this game thinking that it was going to be closer to an RTS, and it does have that feel to it, but it's not quite an RTS. I would more describe this as a puzzle game. And what I mean by that is the campaigns are separated into levels. And each level you have a set amount of units to use at your disposal. And like in an RTS game, it would put you into a map and like here's your mission, go out and do it. And you would be able to take the materials that you're given and approach it in any way. And that's really not what you can do here. So, well, maybe a little bit. So basically, you'll have your units and you move them and you tell them to attack here or repair this building here. And throughout the mission, there are opportunities to get more units to help you with your mission. There are buffs that you can apply to your army that you can unlock as you go. One buff per mission. And there are also, oh, I've got a low tire. That's not good. There are also these spells that you can equip to, like, there's one where you have a bunch of arrows rain down on your enemies. There's one where you can call in reinforcements, just, little things like that. Um, but, and another thing is you can select different units and have them you can use like a paintbrush tool to have them march in a specific way. So if you have a bunch of tankier units, you can put them up front and move your archers to the back and maybe put your main leader unit in the middle. uh it's just strategies like that that really kind of keep this game from being too not even bland, but it differentiates it from other games like it. And when I said earlier that it's a puzzle game, is this is something I found out after like on the third mission. The game wants you to do things in very specific ways. And if you try to deviate too far from that, the game's like, we don't want you to play that way. And the game will punish you. You will die if you don't play it the way that they want it. The way you want you, the way that they want you to play it. Um, that can be a negative or a positive depending on how you want to take it. Personally, for me, I think it's a little bit of a negative because for me, and games like this, I want to be able to really explore and try different options. And it became very apparent very quickly that the game was like, no, you're going to do it like this, or you're not going to do it at all. Even if there were different difficulty options so that I could play the way I wanted to play it, that would be good too. Um, the game's art style is fantastic. I mean, you've got the toy soldiers. Basically, just think of how like the Super Smash Brothers action figures are, and that's kind of what you're looking at here. Like, there's just these action figure characters fighting. There's different campaigns. There's a skirmish mode. There's a lot to dive into here. If this sounds like it's up your alley. Uh, Toy Tactics is a fantastic game, and as always, with all the codes and all the games that we talked about today, it was a super big honor. Super big honor. It was a huge honor to be given these games for review, and I really enjoyed my time with it. Uh, we really breezed through those reviews, so this is a shorter episode. Next episode that I record as a solo is going to be the finale to the handheld gaming and review series, and we're going to be talking about the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, and the Steam Deck OLED, and the possibility of adding on to that in the future. If you haven't listened to those yet, there are 4 parts of the handheld gaming review series that should all be out by now, and I hope you guys go and listen to those. That's been me. Thank you.